So I came across a video about. I've come across them before, and I've hesitated to comment because it really is so stupid. It's unbelievable. But anyway, it has to do with these people who claim to be sovereign citizens and that they are somehow sovereign and not subject to the laws of the United States, or perhaps they're just subject to the laws they want to be subject to and exempt from all the others. And often in the discussion comes up the question of, they make mention of admiralty law, which of course they know nothing about. So I just happen to know quite a bit about admiralty law because my uncle just happened to be an admiralty lawyer. So first of all, admiralty law is a special body of law that exists practically in every single country in the world. And in fact, the notion of admiralty law goes back to 1063 with Eleanor of Aquitaine. Admiralty law has to do with domestic maritime activities and international activities of private parties dealing with ocean-going vessels. So when there are these disagreements or activities or let's just say crashes or whatever you want to say, or incidents, this is where admiralty law comes into play. And in most countries around the world, there are individual admiralty courts. There's 5 or 6 universities in the United States that teach admiralty law. And in the United States, there are not exclusively admiralty courts, as there are in some other countries. Federal courts normally hear admiralty law cases. However, due to a certain legal principle, which escapes me at the moment, state courts can hear them as well. Now, this is separate from the International Law of the Sea treaty, which of course these people never mention because they don't know anything about it. This is an international treaty which has been signed by 167 countries, including the United States, which governs things like territorial disputes between nations, mineral mining rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, business activities undertaken by corporations or governments on the ocean floor, for example, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's also a tribunal that handles these types of cases, and this is separate from admiralty law, and that tribunal is in Hamburg, Germany. You never hear about these things because it's a fairly staid, as they say, and boring to some people area of the law. So that has nothing to do with the concept of sovereign citizen, whatever that even means. But I will explain to you why a citizen cannot be sovereign. If you live in an absolute monarchy, for example, you are a subject because you are subject to the monarch, which the monarch is in effect the state. If you live in a constitutional monarchy, like the United States, you are a citizen subject because the UK has an elected parliament, but they also have a monarch who does not exercise the powers they have, but they just choose not to exercise them. So there you are, a citizen subject. In the United States, with a representative democracy that we ostensibly have, you are a citizen of a sovereign nation. The United States is a sovereign nation. You are a citizen of that nation. You are then subject to the laws of that nation, which have been duly adopted through the representative process. So a person cannot claim to be exempt from certain laws because they claim to be sovereign. And if I can give you one perfect example of why a person is not sovereign, it's this. The United States is a sovereign country. And just like any other sovereign country, it can issue its own currency. So in other words, the United States has bills to pay, it mints money. Now, a private citizen cannot mint money. You cannot take a $20 bill and make copies of it on your copier and go to the store and buy things because you are not sovereign. You understand? You're a citizen subject to the laws. The laws involve monetary, financial, amongst many other laws, currency, etc., etc., etc. If a person were a sovereign citizen, they would technically be able to create their own money which the sovereign nation that they claim to be independent of would have to accept. Now, that, of course, is ridiculous. So these people are just loons with too much time on their hands, and they should probably spend more of it in the library reading about admiralty law and the international law of the sea. Oh, by the way, they always say the founding fathers were admiralty lawyers, or some of them were. Well, no kidding, because shipping was the primary main way that goods were transported, and in fact, almost the main industry of the era. But again, admiralty law goes back to 1063. It was not some invention in the United States and England of the quasi-modern era, and has nothing to do with people's birth certificates or any other garbage. So please stop listening to these people. They're insane.